What happened at Dover Motor Speedway on the surface looks like a straightforward victory story. A dominant performance by an experienced driver, a clean race executed perfectly, and $1 million prize heading to the winner. That's the narrative, and it's true as far as it goes. But that's not the complete story. The real story is what happened around that victory, the structural problems it exposed, and what those problems mean for the future of NASCAR competition at its highest level. The moment you step outside of examining just the winner's performance and start looking at the overall race execution, the picture becomes significantly more complicated. The All-Star Race format, while featuring exceptional individual performances, revealed fundamental questions about how NASCAR is currently structuring its showcase events, and those questions are only becoming louder as we move forward into the season. Let's establish what actually happened at Dover with the facts we know and can verify. Denny Hamlin, driving the number 11 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, qualified on pole position and led a significant portion of the final segment. He finished ahead of his teammate Chase Brisco in the number 19 Toyota. The race was contested over 3 segments with different structures, which is the format NASCAR chose for this particular event. The All-Star Race has historically been an exhibition event with unique formats designed to create entertainment value, and this year's iteration at Dover was no exception. Hamlin demonstrated the kind of consistent performance and strategic decision-making that has made him one of the sport's most successful drivers over his career. One of the most telling observations came from Chase Brisco, who finished second and collected a substantial prize despite not winning. After his crew worked to rebuild the car following a practice incident, Brisco made a comment that revealed something important about driver perspectives on the All-Star format. He wished the race operated under points, suggesting that the racetrack itself, Dover, was excellent for competition, but the format structure itself created a disconnect between the racing quality and what drivers felt was truly at stake. This kind of feedback from competitors is valuable because it indicates that the format, rather than the venue or the cars, may be where questions need to be asked. The 2026 All-Star Race format represented a departure from the traditional structure that had defined this event for years. The elimination of the All-Star Open, which had historically served as a qualifying race allowing bubble drivers an opportunity to race their way into the main event, was a significant change. That Open had been popular with fans because it created a compelling secondary narrative, teams racing for the chance to compete in the main event. Without that qualifier, the qualification process became entirely invitation-based. The prize structure has remained unchanged at $1 million since 2003. Which is noteworthy when considering inflation and the current financial landscape of professional sports. The timing of the Hall of Fame announcement on Tuesday provided an interesting counterpoint to the All-Star discussion. Kevin Harvick received overwhelming approval for induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, with voting numbers that demonstrated clear consensus. Harvick's credentials are substantial: 60 Cup Series victories, placing him 11th all-time, the 2014 Cup Series championship, and wins in all 4 Crown Jewel events including the Daytona 500, Coca-Cola 600, Brickyard 400, and Southern 500. These are objective accomplishments that speak to the level of excellence required for Hall of Fame consideration. What made Harvick's induction announcement particularly interesting was how he chose to receive the news. Rather than being present at the NASCAR Hall of Fame building, Harvick was in a pickup truck in the parking lot outside the facility. He deliberately stayed separated from the moment, not wanting to appear presumptuous or arrogant about the outcome. He said, "I've never been somebody who wants to pat myself on the back. I wanted to be respectful." This approach, remaining humble despite significant achievement, reflects a perspective on the sport that resonates with how many successful drivers conduct themselves. The voting panel clearly appreciated this approach, as evidenced by the overwhelming support he received. Jeff Burton also gained induction as part of the modern-era ballot, securing his place through a voting process that involved multiple candidates competing for limited spots. Burton has 21 Cup Series victories, wins in the Coca-Cola 600 twice, and the Southern 500, and earned 1994 NASCAR Rookie of the Year honors. Since retiring from full-time competition, Burton has maintained an active role in the sport as a broadcaster and participant in the Drivers' Council, positions that kept him engaged with the racing community and visible to voters who consider not just historical performance but also ongoing contributions to the sport. The Hall of Fame voting process itself has structural elements worth examining. NASCAR's Hall of Fame currently caps the modern era class at 2 inductees per year, which creates a competitive dynamic where deserving candidates must compete against each other for limited slots. This contrasts with Major League Baseball's approach, which sets a voting threshold of 75% with no cap on how many inductees can enter in a single year. NASCAR's system essentially forces voters to choose between worthy candidates rather than simply recognizing all who meet a certain standard. This creates a backlog of deserving candidates who will eventually be considered, but the timing becomes influenced by the competitive voting environment rather than purely by merit. Now let's address what has become an increasingly discussed subplot across the NASCAR community heading into the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ryan Blaney, driving the number 12 Team Penske Ford, has faced consistent pit road challenges throughout the early season. The performance gap between Blaney's pit crew and some other teams within the Penske organization has been noticeable. Team Penske has made adjustments to the crew, bringing in personnel from various sources to improve performance. These kinds of personnel changes are normal in motorsports as teams constantly evaluate and optimize their operations. The question of crew quality distribution within a race team is something every competitive organization manages. Blaney currently sits in a strong position in the Cup Series standings, and his driving performance has been consistently competitive. The gap between his talent level and his finishing positions relative to some competitors has raised questions about whether crew efficiency is fully optimized. In a 600-mile race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the margin for error decreases significantly, and pit stop execution becomes exponentially more important. With multiple fuel and tire cycles across such a long distance, crew consistency and speed compound over the course of the event. Any weakness in pit crew performance becomes magnified in races of this distance and complexity. The Coca-Cola 600 is scheduled for Sunday, May 24th, with broadcast coverage on Prime Video and HBO Max, providing significant visibility for the race. The odds board leading into the race shows Denny Hamlin as a strong favorite, reflecting his recent strong performance and wins at Charlotte in past seasons. Tyler Reddick, as the current Cup Series points leader, carries legitimate contention odds. Kyle Larson, a multiple-time winner at Charlotte and a driver known for high-pressure performance, enters with strong expectations. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, and Christopher Bell all carry competitive odds that reflect their talent level and current season performance. Carson Hocevar, who competes for Spire Motorsports, carries longer odds typical for midfield competitive drivers, though Charlotte has historically been a track where unexpected performances can occur. The Charlotte Motor Speedway has produced surprising winners throughout its history, and the Coca-Cola 600 specifically has a track record of races decided by factors beyond simple raw speed, factors like pit strategy, fuel mileage, and avoiding attrition. This aspect of the race creates interest because it means that favorites don't automatically win, and competitive depth matters more than it does in shorter events. Kyle Larson is an interesting case study in ambitious racing goals. He has attempted the Indianapolis 500 and Coca-Cola 600 double, racing both events on the same day, in previous seasons. Only Tony Stewart has successfully completed this feat, doing so in 2001 and running all 1,100 miles of both events without mechanical failure or missing the latter race due to running out of time. It's an extraordinary accomplishment that requires perfect execution, favorable weather, and significant logistical support. Larson's attempts represent the kind of high-risk, high-reward thinking that defines ambitious competitors, even when success probability is low. The documentary series Kyle Larson vs. the Double that premiered on Prime Video on May 21 provided viewers with detailed coverage of Larson's journey in attempting this feat. The series examined his previous attempts and the various circumstances, weather delays, mechanical issues, scheduling challenges that have complicated his efforts. This kind of documentary coverage represents an interesting shift in how NASCAR content is being distributed, moving beyond traditional race coverage into longer-form documentary storytelling that explores individual driver narratives in depth. For Larson, who is known for tackling ambitious goals, the documentary format allowed audiences to understand the complexities involved in attempting something as challenging as the double. On the Friday Night Truck Series race on May 22 on Fox Sports, Connor Zilisch was scheduled to compete for Spire Motorsports in the number 77 Chevrolet. Zilisch is a young driver who has been developing his skills across multiple NASCAR series, and Spire Motorsports provides opportunities for drivers at various levels of their careers. The Truck Series remains an important development platform where drivers can gain experience and demonstrate their capabilities before moving to higher series levels. Racing at a facility like Charlotte Roval, which combines the high-banked oval with a road course section, requires specific skill sets and presents unique challenges. There are always administrative and regulatory elements that shape racing outcomes beyond just driver and crew performance. NASCAR's penalty system is designed to maintain competitive integrity and ensure compliance with technical regulations and on-track conduct standards. Teams must navigate these regulations while optimizing their competitive performance, and pit crew professionalism directly impacts compliance with safety and technical standards. The careful balance between aggressive competition and regulatory compliance is something every team manages throughout the season. The questions heading into the Coca-Cola 600 are numerous. Can Hamlin build on his recent strong performances? His experience at Charlotte and his recent success create legitimate contention for victory. Will Blaney's pit crew execute at the level required for a 600-mile race? The length of the event and the number of pit stops required make crew consistency crucial. Will unexpected circumstances create opportunities for drivers with longer odds? Charlotte's history suggests this is possible. Can younger drivers like Zilisch continue building momentum? Youth in NASCAR often comes with growth potential and the learning curve that defines career development. The Coca-Cola 600 rewards specific characteristics in racing: strategic planning, fuel mileage awareness, avoiding unnecessary damage, and patience in positioning. It's rarely won by the driver who leads the most laps. It's won by the driver whose entire team, from the driver making smart decisions to the pit crew executing flawlessly to the strategist making optimal fuel and tire calls, works in complete synchronization. That synchronization across all departments is what separates winners from strong finishers in races of this distance. The early season has shown that Charlotte Motor Speedway continues to produce competitive racing with legitimate uncertainty about outcomes. Teams are bringing strong equipment, drivers are performing well, and the sport is delivering the kind of competition that keeps fan interest high. The crew changes, the driver preparations, the strategic decisions, and the weather conditions will all play roles in determining who crosses the finish line first on Sunday evening. The Coca-Cola 600 is one of NASCAR's marquee events, and it provides a platform where excellence across all departments, driving, engineering, crew performance, and strategy, must align perfectly for success. If you're interested in seeing how all these storylines play out, you'll want to tune in for the race on Sunday. If you love this analysis of the current NASCAR landscape and how all these different elements connect, please hit that like button because it helps us continue bringing you detailed coverage of the sport.